thank you for being here. This is the budget hearing, public budget hearing. So we will turn it over to Dr. Meyer.
Right, so there's a budget book that you have in your packets. There's some available for the public. So just kind of walk through this book. I think it provides a lot of information. Hopefully we could answer some questions that you would have. We talked general about what the increase is, and so our increase for our total operational budget was 4.66%, which would translate to a 5.37% increase to the town budget. We talked about that before. While that seems higher, we've got to remember that Chapter 70 state aid figures increased by 6.26% for us, according to the cherry sheet, giving us a $777,000 increase. Some of the main changes in this budget, beginning to implement the one-to-one technology at Clinton High School by purchasing Chromebooks for all freshmen and adding technology support position at CHS. Expanding the Project Lead the Way programming at Clinton Middle School so that all 8th graders are able to take robotics and automation, and all 7th graders are able to take App Creator, and then most 6th graders would be able to take Design and Modeling. And that Project Lead the Way is that project-based, hands-on curriculum that's research-based, and we've been piloting it this year so that small numbers have been able to take the robotics and the design class. And also we're looking at increasing our special education, our substantially separate special education programs at the elementary school, particularly around those supporting our students with autism. We've been working with the New England Center for Children, and next year our goal will be to have a partner classroom and a cooperative classroom so that we could help meet the needs of those learners in district, let them stay in their hometown with their peers. There's also some changes to the facilities budget, how that's going to be handled, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So if you look on page 3, you can see there's the table, the executive summary there. You can see that when you look at our kind of some of our revenue sources there in terms of circuit breaker and school choice. The circuit breaker is down 12.41%. Just remember that it's not like the state cut funding to circuit breaker this year. It's just that it's a reimbursement of what you spent previous years. So we actually our claim was down. So our total operating expenditures, like I said before, it was a 4.66, but it's a 5.37 from the town, 6.26 increase from Chapter 70, but you have that decrease in the circuit breaker that we have available to us. And then the school choice increased a little bit. If you remember last year, sort of what we were doing is we're planning on spending a little bit more than what we actually would bring in for school choice, because we have some money in that revolving account, but not so much that we would create a funding cliff, trying to stretch that out. Broke it down by account number there. You can see, the biggest increases are you get 8.33% instructional services. Part of that is adding special education IAs in the budget. Some of those have already been hired to meet the needs of students that might have one-on-ones where they just weren't originally budgeted in the budget. And we've added an additional ELL teacher at the elementary level for those increasing numbers, and based off sort of our care focus monitoring information. In the other school services 3,000 account, part of that, that's just contractual increases. We have the new sport placeholder that's still in there. The one we had one this year, we have one next year. And then the CNA is really just, we had a CNA that we had to hire to support a student, and that need came about last year, but it wasn't reflected in the budget, so it was just coded in the proper section. The 4,000 series, well, that shows a 13.77% increase right now. This is one that I'll talk to you about in a couple more pages, but a lot of this, what the town is hoping to do is look to consolidating a lot of these account lines to a facilities department in the town budget. So what would actually end up happening is there's a handful of line items within the 4,000 account, not all of them, but a handful of them that would be that when we met Russ, myself, Mr. Ward, and Mr. Tumo met to kind of talk about what we might want to include in that facilities budget and what might stay in the school budget. So I'll show you that, what that would look like in a couple pages. Fixed charges, that was based on sick leave buyback, and then the out-of-district tuition actuals, and you can see how that's down about $400,000 based on the actual out-of-district. So if you look at the next couple pages, page 5 and 6, show you sort of just the enrollment class size at Clinton Elementary School and Clinton Middle School. You'll see the largest class, kind of the largest class size is in grade 6. We would be going to 7 sections at 177 kids. However, we did get a preliminary notification that probably 10 kids were accepted to charter school. That was our preliminary notification from the state. So that would probably decrease that number by about 10 kids. And then, so we have that number to work with. So I think we would be under 25 in that grade. Later on our agenda, we're going to talk about school choice. And so you can kind of keep these numbers in mind when we look at that. That's the only one I'm really concerned about as far as the grade, as far as not accepting anyone right now. In grades 7 and 8, you just have a little bit more flexibility because just the nature of their schedules. So even if the average class size is a little higher, there's a little bit more way to finagle it. Like we might have an extra section of English versus, so that's kind of just an average. But in grade 6, when they're still virtually self-contained or in a team of 2, that's pretty much the class size they're going to have all day. High school, not much of a change there for staffing, but the only thing is just kind of just sort of adjusted for a foreign language teacher to be teaching, you're saying 3.2, because we will probably have an additional section of French for next year, and it's kind of coming from our existing staffing anyway. So facilities, here's the table that I wanted to show you. Well, we split it up into, so if you can see, if you look at the bottom line of that table on page 8, the total general fund increase that we were asking for from the town was 5.37%. If we break that up into the general fund line for educational things, and the general fund for facilities. So that's facilities line, that $979,000 in FY19, which in our current budget is actually calling for an increase of overall of 1.2 million, so an increase of 229,000. Those were the additional custodial positions that were added. That was for changing some of the maintenance, those types of things. Those lines would be removed and placed into the town's facilities department. So it's basically the salaries, the maintenance, the supplies, and the service contracts. So basically all the things that we're hoping to hopefully find efficiencies and savings, because we can look at more of an economy of scale if we are able to do those types of things town-wide. Okay, so if you take that out, really the increase for what would be left for our budget is a 4.56%. So next couple pages, we have the strategic plan, just reviewing that our mission, vision, core values, strategic plan goals. Remember, we developed those last year. Starting on page 11 and 12, I have some of the projected revenue. It shows you how they got the Chapter 70 calculation, where that came from. And there's some of the comparisons. There's the circuit breaker calculations. So most of these tables are ones I literally just ran reports on the DESE website, cut and paste and for you. So that it's just showing you their calculations, so you can see where some of these numbers we came up with are. You can see the circuit breaker revolving account balance on 13, what that's projected to be. And so you can see we're going to be a little bit lower than probably like a full year, but you still have a little bit of that. Remember, our goal was to try to basically delay, you have one year to use it. So as you accrue it, you can then spend that the next fiscal year. So typically you want to try to accrue some, so that if you have an unanticipated, like out-of-district placement or something like that, you can get it from there, and then you can roll over to the next year. For school choice, same idea. you can see that in 2017, the balance is 181,000, July 1st, in 18 it was up to 410. In 19, we're anticipating it's gonna be at 340, and then if we spend what we have, we project to be at 220. But it's not, that's not set in stone, it's an estimate based on payment. We're actually working on the process right now. It's that time of year we start looking at special education increments for school choice, so we're working on those reports. Grants on page 15, those are just samples of the grant pages. But just you can see how, you know, they change a little bit. Like, for example, Title I in 2018, we had 383,000. In 2019, that was cut to 355. In the other one I wanted to show was the Title II, Part A. In 2018, it was 67,000. In 2019, it was 51. So that's significant because Title II, Part A had been being used. One eligible expense for it is the class size reduction. It had been being used from prior years, including this year, to help class size reduction. At this point, this budget does not have any of that used for that because I'm anticipating that we're not going to have enough actually in that allocation to fund an entire teaching position, because I'm anticipating that it's probably going to go back down again. And we do fund some other things from there, some of our mentoring programs and those types of things. Operating expenses, there's some per pupil history there on page 16. Just kind of shows you what our in-district expenditure is, compared to the state, and our total expenditure. That includes our out-of-district or vocational placements as well, and the state total. So you can, I know I've shared a lot of this data with you throughout the year as they've made these reports available, so some of them might look familiar. Page 17, same thing, it just kind of breaks it down by code, and you can see that it just kind of shows based on, like for administration, our per pupil expenditure is less than the state average, and you can look at those different categories and see where we fall. So the next part now is the budget insert. So this is really where we start getting into the line-by-line budget. And the first page in the first sideways page there, that has this budget broken up into the town accounts. So the town accounts are slightly different than our end-of-year accounts, so we have it broken up that way. Then the next page is sort of the summary that I showed you before, that you've seen in those other tables. It just kind of has it all on one page. And then the first page with the number down there, it says number 3, is the line-by-line of the budget. I won't walk you through line by line of the budget unless you want me to, but I don't know if anyone has any questions so far, or if there's any input.
So the two, and I forget what page it's on, but the one custodian and one grounds guy,
Yep.
those are still in here, but those are the ones you're talking about.
That would be removed and they would end up in the facilities, and then I don't know, then it's kind of what the facilities subcommittee is working with Russ. I think that they are looking to add staff to his department. I don't know if it'll be both those positions or not.
But they would be.
But they wouldn't be reflected in ours now. Yep.
So are we maintaining for next school year the special ed director position along with the director of pupil services?
I'd like to, but we'd like to change it to more of like a special education coordinator, someone to focus more on things. I think I mentioned it in one of the pages, sorry, to focus more on things like the out-of-district tuition, so under district-wide on page 4, focusing more on early education, out-of-district placements, and transition services for high school students. Those are all areas that we're just trying to tighten up.
Thank you for this very thorough look at the budget, and from a number standpoint, but also from a philosophical standpoint, and keeping things in line with the strategic plans. I do have a question about the school choice. And I
Yep.
know that we'll take it up later in the agenda, so it can wait until then if it's more appropriate for that vote. But the amount that is received for a student coming into Clinton, and it's great that the number is up and that more kids are choosing Clinton, that's fantastic. How does it work with additional costs incurred through special education? Does the town bill the sending district? Do we just absorb those costs?
So right now, what we're working on is the special education increment paperwork, right? So we have to go through and we say, you know, this student this student's a school choice student, that they required speech services and a one-to-one and whatever they might have had in there. We submit that as part of our basically claim,
Okay.
our school choice claim, when we tell them these are the kids we have, these kids are on IEPs, these kids have additional services.
Right.
That'll be figured in when the state then kind of figures that in, and then they're gonna, when we get our payment, it'll be calculated in that payment and broken up. And then, but then like, how does it cut, like, let's say the kid was from, kids from another town,
Yeah.
that's gonna get factored into their kind of bill. So
I see.
the state will kind
Okay.
of clean it up.
Okay. Yeah, please.
And this might not be for right now, or
Yep.
later in the meeting. So we're looking at the enrollment of the students,
Yep.
and
Is that page 5 and 6?
page 5 and 6.
Yep.
We see that there's a few bubble classes that are bigger than others.
Yep.
I don't want to assume, that's why I'm asking the question. Would the bigger classes have the more staff follow with them? So for example, if a class has 159 and 144 has 7, would the next year, when they're in second grade, would they maintain?
Yes, so that's a good question. So if you know, this current year, that class, the 2059, is in kindergarten, and we have 8 sections in kindergarten.
Okay.
So based on our current kindergarten registration, we're anticipating we're gonna be able to go back to 7, and basically that extra staff is rolling up into first grade with that class.
So it says this year on the line above that, but this is actually forecasted for the FY20?
Sorry, yes, for the, budgeted for CES, this year would be FY20,
No,
yes, sorry, yep,
it's just
yeah.
for me, for clarity.
Yep,
That's
yeah.
fine. So that's already been adjusted?
Yes.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
So it's instructional staffing, it's relatively neutral.
For that, yeah, I mean, we basically at the elementary school, you're seeing a K go from K to 1, and you're seeing an additional ELL teacher. For the middle school, you're basically seeing a reduction in grade 5 and grade 6 of 1 teacher each. They had 8 sections this year, they're down to 7. One of those positions was from the general fund, the other was from the grant. Like I said, I think the grade 6 number there, even though we put 177, because that's basically our current enrollment, if you roll it up, right? Like I said, we've already got a preliminary notification that we're probably taking 10 off of that number, or thereabouts.
Other questions?
Just, I mean, beyond the budget pages, I tried to give a little bit more information about like our enrollment trends, some of the indicators, so you can see how it breaks down by race and ethnicity, special populations. Also, our out-of-district placements on page 19, I think that's worth kind of calling some attention to. When you include all of the, including diagnostic settings, in FY17, there was 56, in FY18, there was 57, and FY19 right now we're at 39. So I think we've seen a, kind of a reduction in that out-of-district, those out-of-district expenditures, which we can, you can see reflected, not only reflected in the budget, but I think you can see it reflected in what we're putting into a lot of the programs at the elementary schools to try to meet those students' needs in-house.
So you're seeing that adjustment reflected because of our new district programs?
I think that's why we've been able to help keep some of those students here that might have been needed to be referred out potentially in the past. Yeah.
That's good.
I forget when were the students, the number of this? It's been accepted, I know you don't get a ton of numbers for the school, but we asked it.
Yeah, so I actually got some information today that notified us that as of right now, there was 23 students accepted. There were 2 applications, I think, that still said pending, I'm not sure what that means. And then there were, most everyone else was waitlisted, there were a few that were not accepted for whatever reason, but yeah. But I think those, I don't know when the letters went out from Massabit, I don't know if there's one out today or whatever, but they sent us a, okay. All right, so they sent a communication to us today updating us on that list, and then we can now take that list and start looking at like our high school classes and start seeing what does that do to freshman numbers and that kind of stuff.
Do you anticipate that that number will be stable now for a few years, so we can more effectively budget for it?
I hope so, but I think like, you know, it's a matter of their numbers, right? So I mean, really, from the way the law goes, like we can't really just cap how many kids we send, right? That's kind of, but what happens is we're not a member district, so we're not necessarily like entitled to so many slots over there either. So if the applications from the member districts are such, then they can restrict, they don't have to offer us as many slots. I think typically what's happened is, I think that's kind of where that 25 came from, is they made an effort to try to hold 25 slots for us within their parameters of enrollment. So, you know, I'm hoping that it stays similar. I also spoke to the superintendent about it. We did talk about, I don't know if you saw a few weeks ago, there was an article about them looking to try to expand vocational opportunities, and one of that would be partnering with comprehensive schools and vocational schools, and I mentioned to the superintendent about us exploring maybe some of that funding to see if we could almost partner to try to expand some of those programs. He had some great ideas of different things they were trying, some we thought might work really well actually with our adult learning center. So, so I think there's some opportunities there, but you know, I'm hoping that it's a little more stable, and I'm hoping that we can, you know, and I'm hoping we can continue to just, you know, increase our programming and our kind of career paths, so that we can, you know, make students who are, you know, on the bubble hopefully want to continue to go through Clinton.
Right.
You know, I said that there are some kids that they know, if they know that, you know, my dad's an electrician and I want to be an electrician, then, well, that's a good school for you to go to.
Right.
It's probably right, it might pack it right in front of me, so I'm sorry if it is. Did we get do we know where we're at for Perkins money for next year? Okay.
For the grant money?
Yeah.
I don't know what FY20 is going to be now,
We don't know what
but I have the FY19 amounts that was in here. We got 22,000 this year.
Right.
Last year we had 24,000. So I don't know what I don't have our entitlement or our allotment for next year.
Do we know about the ballpark?
I think it's usually over the summer when we get to the title grants, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they are, I want to say it's 130.
I saw that, but I didn't know if that was seventh grade, or 188 with the eighth grade, so it's. There's 138, but I don't know if that was the.
Well, that's next year.
Right. Just trying to.
Oh, they're 138 right now, right. It's right around the same, I don't know exactly. It's near like, it's about 100, I think it's 130 here to take. A little over 100, yeah, which is kind of what they've been the last few years.
So with that, it's 7 o'clock. We will close the
Do a
Actually,
public comment.
I do
oh,
have
I'm
questions.
I'm so sorry.
Is it appropriate for the public to ask questions? about
By all
this?
means, please identify yourself.
Yes, Alvin Carter, 137 Cedar Street. I do have some questions about the class size numbers, specifically for special ed and English language learners. On page 5 for the elementary school.
Mr. McCall, could you come up to the
Sure. Again, Alvin Ricardo, 137 Cedar Street, Clinton, Massachusetts.
Thank you for being here.
I do have some questions specifically on the special education and ELL. Noticing that the special ed class size average, if I take the 10 divided into 164, as done the others, does an average of 16.4 for the elementary, 15 for the middle school, and 12 for the high school. And if I do the same thing for the ELLs, page 32 for the elementary school, 28 for the middle school, and 23.5 for the high school. So I have, my understanding is typically, and I'm not sure how this reflects with the special ed students, but typically, my understanding is the recommendation is 15 or less ideal for the special ed services per staff member. Just seeing a little bit of a range there between the elementary school and the high school. If possible, I would like to see more increase of services at the elementary level to make that equal across the board. But I'm really concerned with the 32 class size for the elementary school, because this doesn't account the other factors of the flex, which are the formally limited English proficient students, which the district has monitored for 7 years. And I'm not sure with that new mandate how that'll be done with these higher than average sizes than the other groups. So for example, an ESL teacher with 32 students as an average also has to do the lead screener, also has to do the access test, which is very taxing. It pulls out direct services to the students. So seeing that much more higher, in some cases almost double than the elementary. And I appreciate the fact that another staff member has been added. But is this adequate to address the needs of these two populations that the district is trying to address as well?
Right, so I think we just need to, for special education, I just want to make sure that we're not confusing class size with like special education caseload.
Correct.
So that 164, that's not students that are in like a substantially separate population. That's any kid who's on an IEP.
Which
So-
could be some who are in a
Right.
substantial, which could be some who are in substantially separate classes.
Some could be, yes, but it also includes students who might only have,
Inclusion services.
Inclusion
a
services.
speech bowl.
correct. So some of those students might actually be receiving most of their support through instructional assistants or other support in the classroom. The ELL, I think you're correct. I think that that's a growing population that we need to continue to address. I do know that we do have changes. We do have our tiered focus monitoring, corrective action plan that we're working on right now. And I think those are all things that we do need to consider. There are no allocations or staffing or anything included in these numbers from our Title III grant. So there'll be a little bit more money that's typically been used for some additional support in terms of whether it was instructional assistance or before and after school help or summer help. It's typically what our Title III has been used for. That's not accounted in here at all.
Could that
Yeah.
money be used to reduce the class sizes though?
Well, I think we need to, it's not really a class size, right?
Okay.
Because they're not meeting in a group of 32. I think they've got to make sure that, like, so that when they're getting their services and they're getting like pulled out for ESL services.
So let's think about it.
Yeah.
The needs of the English language learner depends on their level of services. So for example, does the district, beginner ESL, are they provided only the 2 periods of instruction or are they doing a full day? So that will determine the amount of services that is needed. So for example, if you have more beginners, they're going to require additional hours of services versus level 4, level 5 English language learner that only need 1 period. So this doesn't really answer that.
Sure.
But I also know, considering the number of FLEPs that are in the district, how is that being monitored? Because with the access testing and the reader screening, and I'm assuming, my memory is, it seems like there's more English language learners enrolling throughout the year than there is of students from the other populations. So that's a service that is needed all the time, so it's not like it's done only in October and then again in January. I'm assuming that these ELL teachers are constantly being pulled out to be screening or testing, or if it's another designee in the district. I'm just concerned to see if you do just, straight out average, 32 seems kind of high, especially for the elementary. If we really want to see the growth for the English language learners, I really do believe in providing more of those services at the elementary level, where it's easier, or I should say easier, but the growth is documented in getting them to the point where they are mainstreamed. And if there is a gap, it's addressed. Versus at the secondary level, I hate to say it, it's almost too late. The plan needs to be that much more intensive. So if there is a way, should we possibly hire another ELL teacher at the elementary level? I feel that the number is justified having that.
Appreciate the Thank you. And again, I apologize, I didn't see your hand. We are past 7. Any other public comments?